It's safe to say that the Golden Age of Piracy could be a rather brutal time, especially for those who were unlucky enough to encounter a pirate or sign up with one. Pirate crews were typically short-lived as the Navy cracked down on those committing these crimes, and as a result, it was common for people to lose their lives. Disease was also rife on board pirate ships, and the constant threat of capture and possible execution would surely have taken its toll on even the most seasoned buccaneers. What then must it have been like to be a child in the Golden Age of Piracy? Accounts of children in the Golden Age are sparse at best, but there is little evidence to suggest that some children were directly involved in, and even contributed to, the acts of maritime robbery that took place on the high seas of the Atlantic Ocean. Today we will be taking a look at what it must have been like to grow up during the Golden Age of Piracy. How did children protect themselves from the constant physical and emotional threats represented by one of the most intimidating periods in naval history? Sit back and relax as we set sail to find out. Welcome to Walk the Plank. Children in the Golden Age of Piracy. It is important in the first instance to remember that accounts of children associated with pirates from the Golden Age are very sparse. One of the main goals a pirate would have had is to leave no trace. The law must not catch wind of you if you are going to make a living as a member of a pirate crew. For this reason, very few pirates kept personal written accounts or journals detailing their lives and experiences. When such a historical source is discovered, it is almost unheard of that a pirate would mention young people. That's not to say that child pirates didn't exist, however. Amazingly, it is thought that in terms of Golden Age child pirates, some boys chose to sign up with pirate crews from the age of 9 onwards. The youngest pirate from the Golden Age of whom we have concrete historical evidence is a boy named John King, who signed up with the well-known pirate captain Samuel Bellamy, otherwise known as Black Sam, on the 9th of November 1716. On one of Sam's voyages, he encountered a vessel delivering settlers to Jamaica, one of whom was the young John King. It is thought that he was roughly 9 years old at the time the pirate crew encountered him and was traveling to Jamaica with his mother. The captain of the settler ship, Abijah Savage, wrote in his diary a few weeks later that little John was extremely eager to join the crew of pirates when they boarded his ship. Alarmingly, John is recalled to have gone so far as to tell Black Sam that he would take his own life or harm his mother if the pirates did not allow him to join up with them. After conferring with his crew, the pirate captain allowed John to sign up with them. His mother, we can only imagine, would have been distraught. This is the only information we currently have on record for John until roughly 1984, when the wreck of Black Sam's flagship, the Wider, was discovered off the coast of Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Amidst the many artifacts salvaged from the shipwreck was a small leg bone clearly belonging to that of a child, with a small silk stocking and a child's shoe not too far away. Archaeologists, in collaboration with scientists from the Smithsonian Institution, would later confirm that this was the bone of a young child as young as 9, possibly even 8 years old. Compare this to Abijah Savage's diary entry, and it looks very likely that this could be the leg bone of little John King. So, John King, supposedly of his own free will, volunteered to become a pirate amidst the Golden Age, and shortly succumbed to a watery grave in the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. It wasn't always like this, however. The boys that volunteered to be pirates were very much in the minority. Many were forced to join up with pirate crews, albeit on rare occasions. Captain George Cusack, for example, an Irish pirate who committed many successful raids and boardings across the Atlantic Ocean from the West Indies to Northern Europe, was known to forcibly take very young children under his wing to join his crew. The most famous instance of this is when the pirate personally captured 4 boys from a merchant ship he captured at some point in the late 1600s. Some of these young people became fully fledged pirates shortly after Cusack took them on board, shadowing members of the crew and quickly learning how to handle themselves in a boarding or a fight. It is actually thought that the boys that were captured by pirates ended up becoming better pirates than the adults who were captured. Young people were more easily swayed by the pirates' lifestyle and codes, and having learned practical skills at such a young age, were usually quick learners. Further evidence for this comes from an account from the ship of Charles Swan from a crew member known as William Dampier. While sailing the Atlantic, Swan and his crew encountered a woman with a few children. They appear to have taken the woman and her children into their crew for a while, but soon relieved the woman of her work and dropped her off at a nearby port. 2 of her children were returned to her, but Charles Swan decided he would keep another, integrating him into his crew. The woman was distraught by this choice and wept as Swan sailed off with her son. Reportedly, the boy adapted to the pirate's life remarkably well. Dampier wrote that, quote, "He proved a very fine boy for wit, courage, and dexterity." Remarkably, many child pirates who were lucky enough to survive naval battles and gunfights were more often than not free to go. This is partially why it is so difficult for us to learn of these young people. No legal documentation surrounding them exists, as they were deemed too young to stand trial. The law was not accustomed to executing young children, even if they had been involved with some of the most wanted men ever to sail the seas. More often than not, the boys faded into the obscure depths of history, whilst their former captains were hanged at the gallows at Executioner's Dock in London. Modern child pirates. Sadly, children in certain regions of the modern world associated with piracy do still find themselves joining up with local crews. A modern child pirate is defined as anybody who, under the age of 18, finds themselves a member of a pirate gang in any capacity. Pirate commanders, captains, or warlords specifically aim to target children in their recruitment campaigns, as they are impressionable and easily swayed by the possible monetary gains that are involved with the crime. In the developing countries affected by piracy, children are typically very common and even pose a moral challenge to anybody pirates might be trying to target. Typically, the vast majority of child pirates exist on the west and east coasts of Africa in countries such as Nigeria and Somalia, or in southern Asia off the coast of Sri Lanka. These pirates typically consist of young boys who are lured into piracy by promises of money and luxury lifestyles, but this is, as we know, a very rare occurrence. Pirates who aren't caught and arrested by the authorities are often killed in the process, usually at very young ages. Perhaps the most well-known incident of child piracy in recent years is the case of Richard Phillips, the captain of the MV Maersk Alabama, a US cargo ship that was hijacked by a small gang of young Somali pirates in April of 2009. The gang was composed of 4 members, led by a young man presumed to be roughly the age of 17 by the name of Abduali Muse. The youngest of the 4 was just 15 years old. Despite efforts from Phillips and his crew to thwart the pirate attack, their ship was boarded and Phillips was taken hostage. After a long standoff, Phillips was rescued unharmed and 3 of the 4 pirates were killed. The sole survivor of their diminutive crew was its leader, Abduali Muse, who was taken into custody. He is currently serving a 33-year sentence as a result of his crimes. It's a tragic tale and one that stems from the hardships these young people face in developing countries almost every day of their lives. In a perfect world, these children, driven by poverty and disadvantage, would never have needed to become pirates in the first place. So that's an insight into the struggles and lives of children associated with pirates during the Golden Age and beyond. These young people likely suffered immensely out on the high seas, be it through disease, battle, or mistreatment at the hands of their pirate captors, but some of them did thrive. We may never know what became of the child pirates who did manage to evade the clutches of death out on the seas of the Golden Age, but that may be a good thing. Perhaps the majority of these young people managed to return to a life of safety on solid ground. Thank you for watching this episode of Walk the Plank. Please do subscribe if you're enjoying these videos, and I'll see you next week for another one. Cheers!